we'd like to carry on now with the song. Before we do, we'd like to ask you if you'd join in with us. Join in. Just make a noise, okay? You do that?
Yeah,
yeah. Okay, then.
Well, I'm Paul and I play the bass.
I'm George and I play a guitar.
I'm Ringo and I play the drums.
I'm John and I too play guitar.
And I'm JD. Welcome to episode 0 of A Submarine That's Yellow. So this is kind of an introduction episode to get you guys, just tell you all what the show's going to be, what I'm going to do, what you guys can look forward to. My name's JD. I have a lot of experience in this fandom field. I run a YouTube show called History in the Mix, which you guys can feel free to go subscribe to, youtube.com/historyinthemix, where I talk about Michael Jackson songs, Michael Jackson news, Michael Jackson stories, but that's all fun, but talking about one guy gets a little annoying, and I've been doing that for 2 years, so now I'm going to start this new outlet about another thing I love, the Beatles. And throughout doing all this YouTube stuff, I've always been told that, with somebody my age, that you just don't get them. You don't get whoever it is, whether it be Elvis or Michael Jackson or the Beatles or David Bowie or whatever. You just can't get them. And so I wanted to do this show to prove those people wrong. So what I plan on doing is going through every Beatles song, starting with Love Me Do, which will be episode 1. I want to talk about the song, give a little bit of background, obviously, so you guys can learn something, but I also want to talk about the song and how I identify it, what I think Paul McCartney, John Lennon, George Harrison, or Ringo Starr are trying to say with their song. That's going to be the main course, but I also want to do a few episodes about news, with all the Giles Martin remix stuff. I'd like to talk about that a little bit, and so I want to see how this turns out, but I also feel like you guys need to know a little bit about my fan story to really identify with me as a Beatles fan. Now, I've been a Beatles fan since around 2015, 2016, and I know that doesn't sound like a long time, but when that's all you do for 3 years at this point, you feel like you've known them for 60 years. So what really got me into the Beatles was the Ron Howard documentary, 8 Days a Week, The Touring Years. I was just scrolling across Hulu one night and I came across it, and I knew who Paul McCartney was, because being a big Michael Jackson fan, The Girl Is Mine, and Say, 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 I knew a little bit about him, and I was like, hey, let's learn a little bit more about him, and obviously I knew who the Beatles were, and I watched it. It didn't really do much for me. I mean, I've watched it again since being a fan for a long time, and it's a really great documentary, but now I understand it more. But what really set me off was I saw her standing there in my head, and I couldn't get it out. It was, well, she was just 17, if you know what I mean, and that was so catchy to me. And I also had the song Help in my head, so I went and found them on Amazon Music, and I just listened to more and more, and I got where I am today. I don't know if I've said it already. Obviously, my favorite Beatles, Paul. I mean, who doesn't love Paul, And so, yeah, I want to do this podcast for people like me who are always put down in whatever fan community they're in for their age, and prove that age doesn't matter, and Beatles music is just Beatles music. So I'm going to go start work on the first episode, and I hope to see you all there. If you're listening to it on iTunes, if I got it on iTunes, maybe even Spotify, rate it however you do. You guys can email the show. I've done this. It's really cool. There's an email. A Submarine That's Yellow pod at gmail.com. You guys can email, give me some feedback. And if you want to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, Twitter at History in the Mix, and Instagram Mixing History, and I hope to set up both a Twitter and an Instagram for the show ASAP. I just want to get this off the ground. So, thank you guys for listening to me ramble for 4 minutes, and the first episode is going to be Love Me Do. Can't wait to talk about that one. And I want to sign off all my episodes with this great quote from the great John Lennon. All you need is love.
What a suitable ending, I think.